Okay. I used to be a school teacher just for a couple years. My husband and I have been married for 19 years this summer, and he works hard so that I can stay home and I can teach our boys. We've got two boys. They are in fifth and eighth grade this year, and every year, even though I was a school teacher, I am learning and growing and trying to tweak things and adapt so that we are doing this better, so that our home runs more smoothly, so that we are getting things done in a way that is good and helps everyone in our family. So
I think that's probably everyone's goal, isn't it?
yeah,
Whether you were a teacher or not, you're a teacher for sure at home, and you're a family member, a wife, and someone in charge of meals and the house and all the
yes,
errand running. And so for homeschooling, I think homeschooling moms wear many, many, many hats.
yes.
And, being in tune with your children and knowing what their needs are really is a significant thing. The curriculum falls underneath that. So we're going to talk about that just a bit. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your boys when it comes to being advanced students.
Okay. I grew up in a gifted program in public schools, and so I had some experience with ways that you can enrich the what you're already doing to go beyond. And then whenever I started, well, I guess I started teaching my son whenever he was a preschooler. My husband wanted me to homeschool. And I love to teach and he loved to learn. And so it just was a natural fit for us. And I remember the day that we were helping my parents move, and my son looked at one of the packing boxes and said, apples. And we went, oh, he could read, And so he was 3, and we knew he was a bright boy. And so we just kept feeding him more and more and just helping him take what he knew and go a little bit further. My other son is different than his brother. He would rather be rolling it, flinging it, launching it, flying it, like he's all rough and tumble boy. And I just thought, well, he's not the same as his older brother. I couldn't even get him to learn his ABCs. Now, granted, he was pretty young when I was trying, but he just wasn't interested. And he finally learned whenever I taped the letters to the top of Hot Wheels cars and sent them zooming across the living room floor to him. And so he kind of grew up feeling like his older brother was, he's the smart one. Well, we found out that my second son is just as smart. He's just different. Not different in a bad way. Neither one is different in a bad way. They're just unique. And so I remember, like, whenever he was in kindergarten, my goal for him was not to learn to read. My goal for him was to learn to be a reader, to love reading. So I remember sitting there with a Magic Treehouse book trying to get him hooked. And he complained to me. He's like, Mom, I'm never going to be able to read like Andrew. He can read this in a half an hour. And I said, honey, your brother didn't start out reading that book in a half an hour. And so I did a lot of reading to my kids to try to hook them, intrigue them. We did different genres and different kind of exciting stories. And now my second son carries around 3 books at a time because you never know, he might run out, and he wants to have something with him. So each child is unique and has their own special needs.
I think that's really an important point. Whether your child is advanced, your child is struggling, your child is just your typical average child. Every child in your home is different, and every child in your home is going to learn differently. And they're at different stages academically and intellectually, spiritually, emotionally, and physically. And sometimes a child is ready to learn some things, and sometimes a child isn't.
Yeah.
And so we may introduce something too soon and have to back off. And other times they grab things so quickly and they can fly with it. And it's sort of fun, that unpredictability, to see what they're doing. So being aware of where they are, keeping track of things, having some grades or some standard measurement is important. So
Yes.
you know where they are and where maybe they're getting behind, or moving ahead. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure, yeah. We don't have a requirement in Michigan to do standardized testing, but I've always done it anyways for a couple reasons. One, you never know when they'll change things or we will move, or, we just wanted to have something in a portfolio to show for what we've done. We wanted to have something to show for our work. So we did this every year, and it ended up being really useful tool for us. They break it down by reading, and then inside reading, there's vocabulary and comprehension and inferential thinking, just a lot of different things that you can look and say, my child is doing super well here, or my child is, even if he's above average, he's not as far ahead in some things. And so we can take those scores. For example, my oldest, when he was younger, I got back some standardized test scores and thought, oh, he needs to have more work with inferential thinking and reading. So I used the book links that come with our reading programs, made it a little bit more fun, and paid more attention to asking those comprehension questions to get him used to processing information in a little different way that he didn't naturally do. I mean, he did it well, but he has improved since then because I put some focus on that area. But yeah, the standardized test scores can really tell you whether your child is falling in the average range, above average, or then even that small percentage where they're really, really, really doing well. So then you can take that information and decide how you're going to adjust the curriculum, what parts you're going to use, and what parts maybe you can speed up on, what parts you can supplement. Maybe they need to do the enrichment pages rather than the regular pages. So that's something that's a process that I'm still learning. And I mean, we've been doing this for almost 10 years, but it's just something that you can keep improving all the time.
I think that's great. The other thing too, some people become very concerned about achievement tests. Homeschoolers get very concerned. I don't want to judge everything on achievement tests, or I'm not a good test taker, and we totally understand that. And that is a consideration. There are some kids who are not good test takers, or they have the fear of doing taking tests. So obviously, you need to know the bigger picture of your child.
Yeah.
Day to day, how they're doing, and not put everything based on that standardized test, but it is a tool to give you some insight.
And you don't need to tell your child what their score is, which we did, but that's actually a really good thought. That can reduce test anxiety right there. They don't know what their score is, and then you're not coming at them later saying, why didn't you do good enough here? You need to do better here. That's not what we do. We take those scores and say, oh, I see a little bit of a weakness here. I'm going to teach to that weakness. I'm going to strengthen that. I'm going to help my child. So they never need to have any anxiety, because you can just foster an attitude of growing and doing better, learning every day. And that mistakes are okay. Mistakes are human. We don't want to give our kids a fear of failure, which I know that I've had to change my thinking over the years. The goal is not the grade or the score. Those things are, whether you do well or not, those things are wrapped up in pride. Whether you say, oh, I got this grade, this is my, this is who I am. Or if you didn't get that grade, then you're so discouraged because you want to be that person. It's all still wrapped up in pride, and we all struggle with it. But the goal is not the score or the grade. The goal is using whatever God gave you, using what you've got to the best of your ability. So as homeschool moms, we really do have to assess our children and not just let them coast, but not be overbearing. We need to nurture them and foster this growth.
And some kids want parental input and they want the extras, and some kids just want to get the work done
Yeah.
And some kids are challenged by the work. I know that there are kids who want to do all the problems on all the pages because they like the challenge of it, which
Yeah.
is fine, if they like that. But I think going beyond in some hands-on ways
Yes.
is very practical. You want to talk about that a little bit? I'm going to look at the comments, put my glasses on here as well, but maybe you can talk to that just a bit.
Yeah. So with my first son, I mentioned that he just would soak up anything that I taught him the first time I said it, and every place we went was a learning experience, which was actually very exhausting. He asked me thousands and thousands of questions, and I know most kids do, but it seems like when you've got one of those kids who soaks it in so well, they will wear you out. And but it was a good thing. Whatever we did together. We planted a garden, and he was responsible for growing the watermelon because it got so big and it was dramatic, and the sunflowers and the zucchini. So he was excited about those things. And then whenever he got to science, he already knew all about that because he had done it. Um, or when you visit places and take field trips, and then you're talking about what you learned. Oh, hey, we read this in heritage studies. Do you remember that this was the person who did, whatever it is? um, Wherever we were, it's not like I was always giving them a math problem to do about everything we did in life. We just talked, we read, we went places, we did things together. And so all of life was learning, all of life was finding more. And now my second son, he's really interested in history and battles, especially loves Civil War stuff. He will come up with things he wants to look up on YouTube because he heard something in class and he wants to know more. And I don't know everything. So this is a good way that dad has been involved this year. I'll say, okay, write it down, tell dad, and they look it up in the evening then, and they all learn something. Or my other son, he's done this too. He's like, I don't know. I know what they said about the Coriolis effect, but I don't really, like, he wanted to understand all there was to know about it. So we looked it up on YouTube, and just foster that school isn't just books. School isn't just paper and pencil. We are learning. So whether it's the formal systematic instruction in school or the books we read or the things we do, all of life is learning.
This is what makes homeschooling absolutely a beautiful model,
Yeah.
for your family, and to see that light. I can see the light in your kids' eyes just watching your eyes talk about it, and I can imagine those conversations between your boys because learning spurs on learning. So here's a couple of great comments here. We want to say hi to Zan. Cheryl Peterson says, this is perfect. I have two different kiddos. One is very smart and learning comes so easily. The other one, learning, is a struggle. And we'll probably see some YouTube videos about that coming up as well. Testing every year, every state is different. Make sure you know what your testing requirements are by
Yes.
state. And that's gotten a little bit different because of our recent health situation here. I love seeing my kids make connections between what they've learned in school and the real world, and that's the beauty of homeschool. It is your homeschool is the real world. You're
Yes.
learning in the real world. Um, we use YouTube so much to move thoroughly explain topics. Yeah, that's a great idea. And I was going to mention too that BJU Press often will give resources. If you go to bjupresshomeschool.com and you go to the subject that you're interested in, and you go to, usually I go to the teacher's edition page just because I can find it very quickly there, or you can go to just resources, and once you go to resources, you can look at each subject, click on that subject, and it will give you web links to videos. It might be a game, it might be an activity, but these are things that they recommend or they believe are going to be safe for your family. And of course, you never know what's going to happen with a link, but there are so many opportunities, not only with those resources, but also within the curriculum. And Jennifer is going to be doing some videos. Hopefully one of them will be up here shortly on spelling, but she's going to go through the different subjects and talk about how to adapt your curriculum, or how to use the parts and pieces of the curriculum for your advanced students. And this is what's so beautiful about those materials. You can take BJU Press materials and work with a struggling learner. You can take it and work with somebody who's gifted and advanced. There's so many opportunities in there. And you can also use the video courses, and that offers lots of things for both situations too. You want to talk a little bit about both of that, those
Yeah,
things?
actually, we have done both parent-led and video courses, and I love them both for different reasons. In elementary school, I did parent-led mostly because then I could truly customize the pace and what we did. I could add in fun things just because I found them on Pinterest and I wanted to use them, but there was just you have the most control whenever you are doing parent-led. So I didn't need to spend a lot of time on spelling or whatever it was. And then I could spend more time on something else. And then if we got done with the school day early, great. Let's go learn to cook. Let's garden. Let's learn to clean the house. You know, I mean, there are lots of real world things that your kids need to learn. So and we started music lessons. That has been another great thing for my kids in a different area than they weren't getting before. But then my oldest son was moving into junior high, and I knew I was capable of teaching the classes, but I need to switch the laundry and feed my family, and I'm doing things at church. And there are just a lot of things to be done in a day. And I knew I wasn't putting in all the work that was necessary. I was actually holding my son back. He would have gone faster and farther if I hadn't been holding him back. So we tried a couple things in junior high. One was I used the sale. If you buy 3 or more online classes or DVD classes, you got 25% off. And I thought, oh, I don't know, he could do this independent. We'll give it a chance. We'll try. It was wonderful. They added so much information. It's not just another form of what's in the book. They get what's in the book, but then they get visuals, videos, extra content. It's just, he loved it. And because he is great at being independent, he can go do his schooling and not have to be slowed down by me and the needs of, well, I need to teach your brother math, or I need to, do whatever I'm doing. So it has really helped our family to do a mixture. I'm still teaching most of elementary school to his younger brother, but he's got science online. He loves that. And then with when you buy 6 or more video courses and you get them all half off in an event, that's just it's just fun. Like, ooh, what do you want your course? Which ones do you want online? And they always choose science and history in our family just because they want that extra content. They want to see the visuals and have the extra stuff. Now my oldest son is doing everything online. I do help him with his writing. That's something that he feels like he does not do well at, and I want to help him in that. So we just do the writing and grammar together, even though we have the video course and we could use it. We just do it on our own anyways. So just use a mixture of things. Use whatever tools that you can use to help your family.
I think that's really important. In fact, Laura Brown was asking about her son who has Asperger's, and which is difficult. Of course, there's varying situations going on there too. But I think, and this is true for a lot of students, kids that are advanced. Just because they're advanced doesn't mean that they're not children and they don't have feelings about what they're learning. Not everybody loves everything that they're learning, or that they don't struggle with something. So you might be advanced in math and science, but still struggle in some ways with your spelling and your grammar. And so, we can't, for those families that are having that little bit of a struggle, it's okay to make adjustments. And where there's an attitude that comes in of frustration,
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to back off. And I think that's where it's a good place to try a video course, because we're trying to accommodate our kids, we're trying to help, and I think just hearing someone else's voice or trying a new approach, like you were saying, you were actually holding your son back a little bit, having an approach with that maybe a video teacher will have, or having those interactive things going on, being able to see and to hear and to pause a video, maybe cutting back on the amount of problems, and maybe just
Yeah.
orally asking things, or doing it differently on a whiteboard, or using graph paper. There's all kinds of accommodations that can be made. So if your child does get frustrated, by all means you should back off and not continue to push. But in the areas where they excel, or they're feeling great about things, those are the days to push. And listen, some days are not fun days, even for kids who love to learn. They're emotional beings. They're children. They want to get up and play. They want to do things. And so I'm sure for your kids, just as well as everyone else's, there's days where they just want to get done with it. Is that right?
Oh, yes. And there are days that I want to get done with it. And to be honest, let me just tell you right here and now, I'm going to do those videos and I have lots of great ideas, but I do not do them all the time. No one, you know, in one of the videos I talked about, you don't have to be the best, you just have to do your best. And that includes putting in effort and working hard. But for someone who is an advanced student, they can take that phrase and then use it to be hard on themselves. You have to do your best. I didn't do my best. I'm not doing well enough. And moms, we do this too. We don't have to have all the bells and whistles on every single lesson for every single subject. We need to educate our children. We need to love and nurture them. We need to help teach their hearts the things that they need to learn and grow, because we're all sinners and we're going to struggle. Sometimes you'll have headbutting going on because sometimes advanced students are independent and they want to do things the way they want to do them. And we have to teach them things like the wise listen to instruction and they are wiser still. And there are so many lessons that we need to teach. You don't have to have the cutest math lesson. You don't have to have the cutest schoolroom. You just need to make sure that you are moving forward in all these different things. And then, yeah, you can breathe some life into your school day by pulling out a great fun idea, but it doesn't have to be every day and all the time. Sometimes we do just need to get done, and that's okay.
That is amazing advice. And so you guys have been awesome with the comments here, and feel free to continue in the threads when we're done. And I'm sure that Jennifer will be happy to interact with you.
Oh,
And
yes.
Nicole is a senior consultant in the West, and she said she enjoyed doing parent-led when my sons were in the elementary years. We switched to video courses in the 7th grade, and that was helpful for us. That was so funny. Laura said, "Thank you for the insight. Yes, it is difficult sometimes when I feel like I have that headbutting." And there are days where you just need to back off and just take a fun day. Do less. Less is more. Again, it's not just about teaching your child a concept that day. It's the big picture, the overall picture of, like you said, nurturing your child, providing an environment for them to grow and to feel loved and to feel successful. And yes, sometimes it is that humility lesson of, yeah, I know that you know this, or you think you know it, but there are still things for you to learn. And I need you to be able to listen and work through the steps of this division problem, or I need you to be able to diagram the sentence. And I know you already know how to do that problem in your head, which is great. And we'll have opportunities for that. But I'm still the mom. I'm still overseeing your education. And for me, I need to make sure that we're getting things squared away. And so for me, I need you to demonstrate that by this and that. And I think having those honest conversations with your kids helps with the headbutting. If they realize you're not just pushing or picking on them or expecting perfection from them, you're just trying to gauge and make sure they're doing well, because ultimately they're going to be independent learners. You're just trying to give them those skills and make sure you're doing your job. that's the exhausting part of parenting and homeschooling. So be looking for on our YouTube channel, be looking for these videos that are there, and be sure to comment on them as well. And if you have ideas or some good blog posts or links or suggestions of things that you do with your kids, please put them in the posts here too. We'd like to see those. We want to share. I'm sure Jennifer can glean from you.
Yes.
She's told me before she gleans from our video teachers, and she'll share some of that later and maybe put some of those things in the post as well. So any last words before we sign off for today?
Just keep growing. Just, if you have to say you're sorry or repent or whatever it is, and then pick yourself up and keep going. Just keep moving forward and love those kids and teach them to the best of your ability. That's all we can do it.
That's right. And that's what God is asking you to do. And he will enable you. He'll give you the grace, and you can remember to thank him for those wonderful kids and for their way they learn and for your opportunities to teach them. So Jennifer, thank you so much for being with us. Thanks for the interaction, folks. And we'll look forward to seeing more in the comments later. Thank you.
All right, thanks.